In this lesson, we're going to be covering the for each loop container. This is one of my favorite options that we can use in SSIS, and it's really a powerful tool. Here's why. With this loop, you can loop through a collection of objects and apply a set of tasks to each object you have in that list or in that collection. So if you think about it like this, you might have a collection of flat files that you're receiving each day or each morning, and with this SSIS package you're going to create, you want to bring in each one of those files that you have in this collection and apply a certain set of tasks or data flow tasks to each one of the files. So with this for each loop container, you can do that. You can have some standards that you want to apply to each flat file you're bringing in, maybe, and you want to load them into a SQL Server table, and you have a list of 20 flat files. This for each loop container can apply those same changes to each flat file you bring in. So the way that you specify a collection of objects is known as an enumerator, and there's several different kinds of enumerators, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Once all the objects have been through the loop once each one of the objects, each one of the, like flat files, or that will be known as an object in this case, once each of those have had the task applied to it, then the package will complete. So here are the different types of enumerators. This is also in the book. The for each file enumerator would be what I just spoke about, which you would give the container, the for each loop container, the directory where you have this list of files, and you give it the file extension, and each one of the files with that file extension will get loaded through the loop, through the for each loop. There's also the for each item enumerator. This loops through a list of items that are set manually in the container, and that's not used nearly as much as the for each file enumerator. Another popular one to do is the for each ADO enumerator. This loops through a list of tables or rows, so this could recognize a table and loop through that table as many times or as many rows as you need. The next one you have here is the for each ADO.NET schema row set enumerator, which loops through ADO.NET schema. The next one is the for each from variable enumerator, which can loop through a list of variables inside SSIS. There's also the for each node list enumerator, loops through a node list and an XML document. And then there's the last one is the for each SMO enumerator, which enumerates through a list of SQL management objects. Probably most common, you'd use the first one, the for each file enumerator, and the third one. Those are probably some of the more common ones. Another one you might use frequently would be the for each from variable enumerator, which uses the variables in SSIS. So these are the different enumerators you have. There's a possibility of what you can use. And it really kind of depends on the situation and what kind of objects you need to perform the same task to over and over. Alright, so in this lesson, we're going to be enumerating through a file system or a group of files, in this case some text files, flat files. And we're going right here. I'm looking at them. You'll get these from rocks.com, and you'll make them in this folder, the C project SSIS Personal Trader / Lesson33. For the most part, you've been loading all of them into just the same folder structure without the Lesson33. But for this one, we're going to go ahead and create that extra directory because we're going to take all of the files that are inside this directory and load them through our for each loop. So these are just a set of 4 files here. You can open them if you'd like. Just take a look at them. They have a name and a state. They all kind of have the same kind of data inside them. And what we're going to do is load each of these files into a table that we're going to create as well. So I just wanted you to take a look at where the files need to be located before we get started. To go ahead and get started though, you're going to create a new package. So inside the Solution Explorer, you're right click on SSIS Packages and create a new package. And then we're going to rename that one Lesson33. And then you want to confirm that you want to rename the package object as well. Say yes to that. Okay, now our first step is going to be to bring over a data flow task. So from your toolbox, bring over a data flow task, and then we're going to rename it DFT load flat files. And then we're going to create a flat file connection manager so we can tell it where the files are located that we're going to be loading. So go ahead and create a new flat file connection manager by right-clicking and say New Flat File Connection Manager. And we're going to be loading multiple files, but to start off with, we're going to point it to just a single file. And let's name this Flat File Connection Manager File Extract. Just give it some kind of name. And like I said, we're going to be loading multiple files, but we need to point it to a single one to start off with. So under Browse, we're just going to point it to file number 1. And this is going to change once we get to our for each loop. It's going to load each file, or each. We're going to use an expression on this connection manager to load each file, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Go ahead and check that we do want the first row to have the column names, and then take a look at the columns, just so you can have a look at what it's going to look like, and then click OK. Our next step is going to be in our data flow to bring over a flat file source. So double click on your data flow task and bring over a flat file source. And rename this flat file source file extract. Once you have that, go ahead and open the flat file source editor by double clicking. And as soon as you did that, it recognized which connection manager you wanted to use, and that's correct. We want the file extract connection manager. And check out the columns that it's bringing back, which is the name column and the state column, and click OK. The next step we want is to create another connection manager, this time to an OLEDB connection manager. And this time we're going to use the AdventureWorks 2008 database, which I already have as a preset here. Click OK to that and rename it just AdventureWorks 2008. Alright, now we're ready to bring over an OLEDB destination. So bring that over onto your data flow pane here by going to your bottom, bringing over the OLEDB destination. Oop, I missed it. There we go. And connect that to your file extract, or connect your file extract to the destination. And go ahead and double click on the destination. And we're going to we're going to create a new table. Click New. And then it'll load up a dialog box to create a new table. We can leave the settings we have here as they are, except let's just change this to for each loop. So that'll be the name of the table, just so we can associate it with this package that we created. Once you have that, go ahead and click OK, and that'll create the table here on the fly inside of SSIS. And then check out your mappings. You'll see that we have this warning sign here telling us that the mappings for the columns need to be corrected. So just click the Mappings tab to do that. You'll see they look good. Alright, go ahead and click OK. So we haven't done anything too fancy yet, but now we're going to start configuring our for each loop container. So go ahead and bring that over from your toolbox. Bring over the for each loop container. And stick your data flow task inside the container. Then we're going to open up the container editor by double clicking on the top portion of it, and that'll open the editor. This is just the general tab. We're not going to do anything here, but in the collections tab, or the collection tab, we're going to select the for each file enumerator, which it should be by default. You might need to select it again to get the settings that you want. You'll see that it was set as default, but I had to select it again to get the settings I needed at the bottom. So now we're going to set the folder property to that C Lessons33 folder that we had, that you should have just created. So C, Projects, Lesson33. You could have also created the new folder inside this that little browsing menu there. Here we're going to tell it that we want all of the text files to be enumerated through. So to do that, you're going to leave the asterisk right now, as it is like this, it's going to bring back all of the files that are inside there and try and run it through our data flow task. We want just the text files, even though all we had in there were text files. Everything else we can leave as the default. We are going to use the fully qualified file name, which is correct. The next tab we need to go to, though, is going to be the variable mappings. And from here, we're going to create a new variable. We could do this the same way if we wanted to. We could have created it first inside the variables tab over here, but we could also do it from here. So we're going to say new variable. And let's call this variable flat file location. So this variable is going to tell SSIS what the location of the flat files is, and it's going to change each time it goes through the loop. It's going to change the name of the flat file location to the next flat file. Remember, we started it off as flat file 1 or file 1. Each time it goes through this loop, it's going to change it to the next file name. So it'll change it to file 2 next. So name this flat file location. It is a user variable, and we don't have to give it a value yet because we're going to assign that here in a moment. Remember, the file name is going to change each time, and that's going to be placed in this variable. So each time this collection here is going to be inserted into that variable. So go ahead and click OK. The last step is going to be to put an expression on the flat file connection manager, which we've actually done before in a prior lesson on expressions and connection managers. So if you remember right, you select the connection manager you want to apply the expression to, which is the file extract, and you go to the properties menu, and then you go to expressions, and the property that we're going to set is going to be connection string. So select that. So once you have the property set to connection, or connection string, go ahead and also select the expression. And in this expression builder, we're going to set our connection string. Remember, we have that set in that flat file location, which was the name of the variable. So from your variables, go ahead and find the user variable called flat file location and drag that onto the expression. If you evaluate the expression, it's not going to evaluate into anything yet. The reason is because that variable is being set inside of our for loop container. So go ahead and click OK on that, the expression builder, and OK again here, and I'll show that to you one more time so you can see where that expression is being assigned, or where that variable is being assigned a value. It's being assigned the value from inside our collection tab here. This value right here, the location here, and then each file, this asterisk that stands for each file that has the extension of the txt, is going to be assigned to that variable. So let's take a look at it. Let's go ahead and get our Management Studio ready with that table so you can see the difference here in a moment. If you refresh this, remember you created that for each loop table. I'm going to go ahead and open it. Shouldn't be anything in it yet, just the 2 columns. And let's run the package. Remember, we had 4 files. I think each of them had about 3 records in them, 3 or 4 records. So we should have about 12 records once we load this. So go ahead and execute the package. Right click on the package and say execute package. You'll see it loop through this 4 times. Did it pretty quick because our flat files don't have too much in them. So let's go ahead and stop this and take a look in Management Studio again. Let's run this again, and there you go. We got 12 records now. We have a list of names and states that they're assigned to. The data doesn't matter, but you can see that we looped through each of these files that we had, that each of them contained 3 records, and we used that variable to assign a value of the location of those files to the flat file connection manager. So now that we got that, let's go ahead and review on the last slide what we learned in this lesson. So in this lesson, we learned how to use the for each loop container, and what this loop container does is it loops through a collection of objects, and any task or anything that you have going inside that container, it will apply those tasks to each one of the items in that list of objects. So the way that you specify what the list of objects is that you want to use is through enumerators. We talked about the different kinds of enumerators there are, and we showed you how to use the file enumerator, the for each file enumerator. And how it works is it looped through each one of the files that we had in our list, and once each of those files or objects had completed through the loop, it completed the package.